AJAX is a very small technology under JavaScript. Yeah, look at JS AJAX, AJAX introduction. Yeah. All right, introduction. All right. So let me explain the basic idea. Let me cut this part. All right. Yeah, so here, several things. Let me explain the name, why this technology is called AJAX. Okay, yeah, so the name was coined, yeah. All right. In approximately year 2000, yeah, around year 2000, this technology, okay? Approximately at that time. All right. So A means asynchronous, okay? Yeah. Asynchronous. Synchronous. Okay, I will explain this. J means JavaScript. Okay, that J is JavaScript. That A and because they tried to make that name, so they take that A from the and. All right, that XML. We know XML is a very old technology. So currently, it is rarely used, all right? Currently, not many people use this XML, okay? The reason is too complicated. XML, because the purpose using XML to represent the structured data. When we send the data, we want to keep the special structures of the data. Yeah. So XML using the tagging way, just HTML. HTML, we use a lot of tags, right? So XML using the tagging way to represent the data in a tree structure. So that's XML, okay? Yeah. So represent the data in the tagging way, okay? Tagging way. In a tree structure, okay? The root node, child node, you know, different levels. That's the XML file, okay? The tree structure. Okay, yeah. Since it is very complicated. Okay, yeah. All right. And it is rarely used. Right now. All right? Yeah. And another simpler technology is used to replace it. it is replaced by much simpler technology. JSON, okay? JavaScript object thing, okay? Also part of JavaScript. Yeah. So from W3 school, we can see the, also the JSON part. Look at this JSON intro, okay? JSON. JavaScript object notation. That's the JSON meaning. JavaScript object notation. Yeah. Yeah. Very important because it is simple, easy to use, easy to process. Now it's very popular. When you need to do data communication between client and server, and even between different machines, different operating systems, different programming languages, you just use the JSON, okay? Yeah, so it's, very convenient, yeah, and easy to learn, yeah. So the rules very simple, okay? Yeah, so that's why, programmers, so they like to use the, simple way, JSON technology, but not XML. So right now, not many people. Yeah, not many people use XML. Too complicated. Parsing, right? You need to, many programming language, you have to rely on some special package to parse the XML documents. Okay, so very complicated. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, but this old technology at that time, XML is relatively new technology at the beginning of year 2000. It's relatively new, yeah. And this asynchronous, it is a JavaScript object. So that object, so inside this JavaScript, yeah. So it's an object, okay, related to XML. Okay, so in its name we can see, XML, HTTP, So that's special object. Okay, we need to use this special object to do the data communication between client and the server. Yeah. So that's the, this technology. Then asynchronous, I will explain why it's not synchronous, it's asynchronous. Yeah. Another important, useful, technical aspect. Yeah. Now let me delay it after I give you the basic background about AJAX. Then I will explain why this asynchronous way is better than synchronous way. Yeah. All right. Developer's dream. So, from the description you can see this technology is very useful. Why it is so useful? Because the most important reason people use it is fast response. Okay? Yeah. And not just fast response, and another thing, important thing is, convenience. Very convenient, yeah. Okay, yeah. So a lot of nice, fancy features rely on this AJAX technology. Yeah. All right. Yeah. 3 properties here. Read data from web server after the page has loaded. Yeah. Yeah. Page loading, we know each HTML page. First, we need to load the HTML page in the web browser, right? Yeah. So the environment is in a web browser. All right, yeah. But when you load the page, it takes time, right? Yeah. Think about it. You have a lot of components, GUI components in the web pages, and images, right? So your pages can contain images, videos, so a lot of things in your pages. So when you do the page loading, usually it takes quite some time, okay? Yeah. So in page loading, so you need to, render the GUI components. Images, videos, other things, okay? Yeah. All right. Before AJAX technology was created, then every time when you need to modify a page, because people want to make the page dynamic, right? Dynamic page, yeah. So it's more interesting. So dynamic, yeah, better than static pages. Static, page content never changes. Okay, static content. Yeah, but people like to use the dynamic content. Okay, so based on the user's needs, yeah, the pages can change based on the user's needs. Yeah, so dynamic content. But before AJAX technology was created, whenever you need to make some change, you need to reload the page. Yeah. So here, let me write this way. So before AJAX, okay, yeah, need to reload the page, reload the pages. When you modify the pages, okay? Yeah, so that's not efficient, right? Even you just change one number, yeah, sometimes people just want to change one number. Well, but you reload the whole page, But when you reload the whole page, sometimes it takes a few seconds, okay? Yeah, because you have images, you have a lot of, heavy stuff. It takes quite some time, yeah. So that's not efficient. Why you cannot do it in an efficient way, right? Why you do not reload the page? You just modify that small number, yeah. Or you just modify some local region when you need to change something. Yeah, right? Yeah. So that's the natural logic. Yeah. All right, so for that reason, then, people, developed this special technology. So, yeah. It's inside JavaScript, yeah, because it relies on the JavaScript environment. So inside, a sub-technology inside JavaScript. Yeah. But the one special object is used to do the communication between client and the server. Okay? Yeah. Then, without loading the page, the JavaScript function using that special object can handle data transmission, okay, between client and server. Send data, receive data, modify the page within the same page, okay, within the same page. Yeah. Yeah. So that's much better than the old way. Yeah. All right. Update a web page without reloading the page. Yeah. So that's that's right. Send the data to a web server in the background. Yeah. Yeah. JavaScript sends the data. So you do not, outside people, So they do not notice the data sending event. So it happens automatically. Okay? Yeah. When certain event occurs, it triggers the data communication behind the scene. Yeah. So that's very nice. Okay? All right. Yeah. So then, after this technology is added, then the GUI in web pages, yeah, so here, as a result of this technology of AJAX. Okay? Yeah. Then, the GUI of web pages is similar to GUI of desktop applications. Okay? Yeah. Before that, the GUI of web pages not as good as the GUI of desktop. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. All right. But with this AJAX technology, then you do not need to relocate. One page, in the same page, you can do all different kinds of things, just like a desktop application. Okay? Yeah? So, yeah. All right. Now we need to see how to implement it. Yeah. In order to use this technology to implement certain feature. Yeah. So let's see how to write a code, right? Yeah. So the typical steps, how to write a code. Yeah. Yeah. So here, let me use a simple example. Yeah. I think in this tutorial, so we can see some simple example. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so let me go back to AJAX introduction page. Yeah. All right. Change content. Yeah, this example. Let AJAX change this content. Click change content. That, without loading the page. So the content can be changed without loading the page. You stay in the same page. Yeah. But one small portion of the page is updated, when you do some action on the page. Yeah. So that is one. Yeah. All right. Then I may like to show you, some more examples. Let me look at the AJAX examples. Yeah. So what examples? Retrieve content. Yeah. Applications. View. Yeah. So here you can see a lot of AJAX examples. Yeah. All right. Yeah. And let me see if I can find some simple examples. Yeah. All right. So here, yeah. Let me explain this part, coding part. Oh, all right. So let me save this page. Okay, so this page, introduction, let me save. AJAX. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Oh, I cannot. Save this page. Then let me cut another page. This page. To explain the coding part. Okay, all right. coding. Yeah. All right. Then this is the special XML object. Yeah. XML HTTP request object. The keystone of AJAX is this object. Yeah. At the beginning, we need to create this object. Yeah. So very easy. One line, we can create this object. Yeah. All right. Then define callback function. Yeah. Because how do you, after you receive the data, how do you use the data, right? Yeah. So you need to do it in a callback function. Yeah. Yeah. So after you send the data, then sometimes some data is returned. Yeah. Not always. Yeah. Sometimes we may not need a data return. Yeah. But most of the time, we may need a data return. Okay? Yeah. So you need to write the code. You need to update the page in this callback function. Okay? And this callback function is usually an anonymous function. Anonymous function. No name. Yeah, because we only use this function in this place. Okay? Yeah. Not other places. Only this place. We use it once. That's enough. Why we need a name? Okay? We do not need a name. Yeah. So that's why we use an anonymous function to process the data, return the data. All right? Then, open XML, yeah, because after you define the callback function, you leave it there, waiting for the data return. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. So then, you need to work on the data part. Yeah. First, you need to send the data, right? Yeah. You need to do the data preparation to send the data. All right. Open the object. Yeah. Open. So what do you mean open here? Because for data communication, you need to open some communication channel, right? Yeah. Yeah. Communication channel. Yeah. So there is an open function. You need to call it. When you call it, so there is some, socket, communication. Lower level communication, socket object created. Here we do not need to know that, right? That kind of lower level details, we do not need to know what happens behind the scene, okay? Yeah. So we just call this open function. But when you call this open function, you need to pass URL. Yeah. So call this open function because open, which file at the server side you want to URL, okay? What file at the server side you want to call, okay? Yeah. So the URL connects to a data processing file at the server side. Okay, yeah. So PHP, Java, ASP, and so on. C#, yeah. But it must be a data processing file, okay, yeah. And at the same time, you need to send some parameters, yeah, okay. This URL, yeah, containing certain parameters. Okay, yeah. All right. Then send a request to the server. Okay. So so you open, then send. Okay, send means this open you call open function. Okay, this open you call open function. Send you call send function. Okay, yeah, you call send function. Then the server side, after the data processing, the server side returns data. Yeah. Requested data, appropriate data, return. And your callback function has some mechanism to receive the return data. Now, in your callback function, there is some built-in mechanism to receive the return data. Then you just retrieve the data, the structured data. Yeah, because the data sometimes there is a structure for the data. So then you need to parse, you need to retrieve, parse the data, and then do presentation. Then do appropriate presentation on your current web page. That's the whole process, okay? Whole AJAX process. Yeah. All right, yeah, so that, pretty simple, yeah. All right, so that's the, main steps. Yeah. All right, next, let me show you some example. Yeah, I want to find some simple example. Yeah. So let me save this page, although, let's see, small page. Oh. I need to, AJAX 2. Okay. All right. Then, let me try to find a simple example to show you. Yeah, so, so callback function, anonymous function, okay? Send, open and send. Okay, all right. Yeah. Example here, yeah. Actually, I like to find some interesting example. Let's look at this PHP example. Yeah, all right. Yeah, let's look at this simple example. AJAX PHP example. The following example demonstrate how a web can communicate with a web server while the user types a character. Yeah, so just type character because we want to have suggestions. Okay, yeah. So when you type a character, initial, then, a list of suggestions, typically the names of people. Yeah, let me type A. Oh, yeah, no name. Yeah, I have something, right? A, you see, and Amanda. Yeah, list of name suggestion. All right. Yeah. So let me type G. Yeah, you see, the names with G, R, for example, yeah, because it's a relatively short list, okay, relatively short list. Yeah. But when you type here, you can see, just like our Google search, when we type a keyword, yeah, first few characters, yeah, then a list of suggestions returned. So you can choose from that suggestion list. Yeah. All right. So the code is very simple. Yeah, here, let's look at example explained. All right. Let's look at the code. Yeah. First, we need to have an HTML page. Yeah, because the front end, it's an HTML page. Yeah. We display the GUI. Yeah, simple GUI. Yeah. All right. And in this HTML page, yeah, look at this input. Yeah. The first name. Yeah. All right, so here, input, on key up, show hint, this dot value. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So here, all right. So this function, show hint function, show int function, show hint, yeah, whatever. Show hint function passing a string. What is that string? The string you type in the input field. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you type in the input field. Yeah. So this is a input text type text. So you can type. So the first name you type in the input field. Yeah. On key up. Yeah. So when you trigger that key up event, yeah, because when you type, when you lift your finger, the key up, right? Key up event triggers this show hint function. This dot value, yeah, the value you type it in the input field, that value is passed as the parameter str to this function. Okay. If equals 0, then you do nothing. Okay. Yeah. If it's empty, you do nothing. Yeah. But if it's not empty, then you create this object, new HTML HTTP request object, yeah, the constant object. Then you define anonymous function. So this object dot unload equals function, anonymous function. Okay, this dot response text. So this object contains the returned text. Yeah, because the text, the content is expected to be returned from the server side. Okay, all right. So that returned text content, yeah, you use it to change the inner HTML. You know, yeah, inner HTML in CSS. Yeah, when we want to change the content of an element, we change the value of this inner HTML. Okay? Yeah. So that inner HTML, yeah, get element dot, yeah. So you know, using the ID, yeah, get element by ID. So txt hint. So that is the element you want to display the suggestion result. Suggestion result. Okay, all right. So you update that element, the content of that element. Okay, yeah. So that's the, yeah. All right. But the back end, we also need to see the PHP file. Okay, yeah. PHP file get hint.php. Yeah. Look at, so here when we call the open function, get method, double quotes get method. Yeah. So here you can use post method and a get method. Yeah. So what's the difference? Yeah. You know, later when I have time, I will talk about the difference. Okay. Yeah. So here we use the, you know, we can use post or get. You know, it's not important here. Okay. Then, what data processing file do we use at the server side? Get hint.php. Question mark. We need to send some parameter value to the server side. Q means query. Okay, so you do the query. So Q parameter name. Q equals that string value, str, the parameter string value. Okay, so you send it to the server side, the data processing file, get hint.php. Next, we need to write that get hint.php code to do the, you know, data processing at the server side. First, data preparation. So here we use hard-coded array, yeah, because sometimes you can retrieve the data from your database. You can do a query. Yeah. Yeah. Typically, we do query from the database. And in this simple example, yeah, just prepare data in a query, in an array. Yeah, so this array, a array, okay. So list of names, first names, okay. short list of first names, this long. All right. Then $request Q, yeah, because you want to retrieve the data from the request scope here, $_ capital letters, so that's the PHP constant, okay? That's the, this underscore capital, the PHP internal constant. You want to retrieve the data stored in the request scope, okay? PHP internal request scope. And what parameter name? Yeah, Q parameter name. All right, so here, yeah. So you get the data. Then if it's not empty, then str to lower, you convert to lowercase, yeah? So type, you convert it to lowercase, okay? All right. The string, lowercase, all right. Then the length of the string, yeah, okay? Because you need to do for loop, okay? For loop, so you need to get a length number, yeah. So then the for loop, yeah. $A as $name for each loop, yeah, for each loop, okay, yeah. All right, so then because you go through all the elements in the name in A array, yeah, in A array. A is an array, okay, and every time each element you put it in the $name variable, okay. Every time that $name contains one element in the array. All right. Then for str, yeah, yeah. So here, you compare substring, right? Yeah, the query string, and you compare it. You take the substring from the name from 0 index to that length index. Okay. Yeah, the substring. Yeah, the PHP substring function. You call substring function. Okay, you compare. Yeah, the same number of characters. First a few characters as your query string. Yeah, if they are the same. Yeah, yeah. If they are the same. Yeah. All right. So you store the whole name in that hint. Okay, whole name in that hint. Else, yeah. If it's empty, you just store the whole name. But if it's not empty, yeah, because think about when you go through the whole array, you may have multiple names matching your query string, right? Not just one, multiple. So the else part you prepare for the multiple matching case. Yeah. So you do concatenation, comma separated. Yeah. You attach the current name to your current hint string. Yeah. Attach it. All right. Yeah. So then at the end, echo the last line. Echo $hint. Yeah. So if it's not empty, if it's empty, you send no suggestion to the front end. Okay? Yeah, because it could be empty, right? No suggestion. If it's not empty, you send the $hint variable content. Yeah. So that's the whole feature implementation. Okay? Whole feature implementation. Yeah. AJAX. Very simple. Very easy. Yeah. So from this example, so you get an idea. Yeah. So how to write the code using the AJAX feature. Okay? Yeah. All right. So after this preparation, now we can understand editing feature easily. Yeah. Because now we need to understand editing feature, right? Yeah. Think about editing feature. Last time because we didn't learn the AJAX technology. So last time it was a little hard for you to understand the editing feature. Because when we click editing button, we don't want to reload the page. Okay, we just want to, update one row of the page, right? You do not need to change other places. You only need to change one row you selected. Yeah. The button you click it in that row. So only change that small portion. Okay? Yeah, here, let me explain. Yeah. So why, how to change that. Okay? Yeah. So based on this suggestion, yeah, name suggestion example. Yeah. So now you have this background. Now we use it to understand our editing feature. Okay? Editing feature. Yeah. Although we can do the editing feature without using AJAX. If you do the editing feature without AJAX, you need to reload the whole page. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. You need to reload the whole page. Yeah. So that can be done easily. The coding part is very easy. Yeah. But reloading the page, we know it is relatively slower. Yeah. Relatively slower. All right. So now we are ready. So to look at the editing details. Yeah. All right. So let me, start my NetBeans. Yeah. We just look at the code. Yeah. So we do not need to run the code because you're already you're familiar with the features. Yeah. All right. Here. All right. Yeah. So the editing part. Yeah. All right. Let us look at the our data part, right? So this time I need to explain a little more detail regarding the editing part. Okay, all right. Editing part. Yeah. Let's look at the edit button. Yeah. So look at this element, this div element. Okay, this div element. All right. So this div element display block. Yeah, so here there is one thing. All right, so yeah, let me cut this part. So yeah, because I need yeah, but the screen is not large enough when I cut it. Yeah, we have the most part. Okay, we have the most part. Yeah. Edit. Yeah, but still, some little things. Yeah. All right. Let me try to cover as much as I can. Okay, this much. Let me cut it. Yeah, I already saved this page, so we cut another page. This page. Edit button. So you can see the edit name. Edit and update. Okay. All right. Yeah. So let me explain this code segment. Yeah. All right. Here, we need to prepare two buttons. One button is the edit button. So this is an edit button. Edit button. Okay. So you see the button like this, and then this is the update button. Okay. Two buttons. Yeah. But we see two buttons not at the same time. Okay. Before you retrieve the data to be edited, it's an edit button. Okay. After you click edit button, then you need to switch the edit button to update button. Yeah. Because when you have the editable fields, you can edit the current row, then you need an update button. When you have update button, you need to hide the edit button, right? Yeah. So the two buttons, you can only see one of the two, not both. Yeah. So we need to write a code to show one of the two. All right. So how to do it? We use CSS display property. Okay. So the CSS property. This property take two different values. Block of value, that means this button is visible. Okay, visible. Now, if the display property takes the non-value, it's invisible. Okay, invisible. Okay. So at the beginning, edit button, we use the display value block, so you can see edit button. All right. But when you click the edit button, then you call this function on click. So when you click edit button, you call edit this row function. So you send 3 parameters. Okay, passing 3 parameters to the edit this row JavaScript function. All right. Then in the JavaScript function, you need to change the block value to non-value. Okay. Inside JavaScript function, you change the value. Then this edit button disappears, invisible. Okay. Yeah. Then in JavaScript function, you change the non-value of this update button to block value. So you make it visible. Right. Then you see update button. Okay? Yeah. So, all right. And the update button, you associate it on click event. You associate with update this row, another JavaScript function, passing 3 parameters. Okay? Yeah. Because you need to send the new data to the server side for updates. Yeah. So next, we only need to understand these two functions. Edit this row function and update this row function. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, 3 parameters. Yeah. All right. Why 3 parameters? Yeah. Before we move to the JavaScript function, 2 functions. Let me explain the meaning of 3 parameters. Yeah. Let me look at the time. Yeah. So I have 15 minutes. Yeah. I want to complete, this editing feature. Yeah. Other than that, then other code much easier to understand. Okay. Yeah. Because this is the first time you learned AJAX, how to use AJAX to, do the data communication. Yeah. After you understand that, other places when we use the AJAX, you can understand easily. Yeah. All right. Here, 3 parameters. Why 3 parameters? Yeah. First 2, the data. Okay. All right. Yeah. So these 2 functions, edit function and the update function, is 3 parameters. Okay, all right. The first 2 plus last one. Yeah. So what's the first one? All right. Here, let's look at our current row. This is our current row. Okay. Yeah. Current row, we have field 1, field 2, field 3. Multiple fields. Okay, several fields. So there is one question. The first question, okay, how to identify a row in one of the 5 tables. We have 5 tables, right? Yeah. Yeah. When you try to edit one of the rows in the current table. Yeah. The current table, one of the 5 tables as the current table. Yeah. How do you tell the server side which row you want to edit? Right? You need to identify the row. Yeah. Yeah. All right? Yeah. And because one way to identify, use the primary key, right? We know the primary key can be used to identify. But in our 5 tables, yeah, there are 2, yeah, as I know. So there are 2 of the 5 tables, they do not have no primary key. Okay? Yeah. So 2, no primary key. For 2 of the 5 tables. The question is, how do you identify a row in a table without primary key? Right? Without primary key. Yeah. Yeah. Here, we need to use our knowledge of these 5 tables. Yeah. Based on our observation, yeah, you need to, study these 5 tables. Yeah. So we found, yeah, when we examined these 5, we found, yeah, when we use the data of the first two columns, yeah, yeah, data, we found one property. Data of the first 2 columns can identify a row in any of the 5 tables. Okay? Any of the 5 tables. We can use the data of the first 2 rows enough to identify. Okay? Yeah. Then, because we want to use a unified way to process all 5 tables, that unified way, we use the data from the first 2 fields. Okay? First 2 columns, first 2 fields. That's why you can see the first 2 parameters when we pass through a function, that's the data of the first 2 fields of that row. Okay? Yeah. 0 index and 1 index, first 2 fields. Yeah. $J refers to the row number, right? The row number. J row number. Okay? Yeah, same row number. So then we take the first one, second one. All right? Yeah. Then our third parameter is that J row number. Because when we modify the GUI components, we need to know which J row number we need to do the modification. That's the reason we need a third parameter, $J. Okay? All right. So with this understanding, now we can go back to the JavaScript, 2 JavaScript functions using AJAX. How to get it done. Okay? Get the data communication done. Yeah. 2 JavaScript functions. Yeah. So let me use about 10 minutes complete those 2 JavaScript functions. Yeah. So after we understand all the setting arrangements, then for each function I use 5 minutes to explain how to get it to work. Okay? Yeah. This time we just do the similar way as the name suggestion example. Yeah. We just studied. Okay? the AJAX, the name suggestion example. Yeah. All right, so let me go to the JavaScript function, to JavaScript function. Yeah. Edit this row function and update this row function, yeah, with 3 parameters. Yeah. All right, so let me save. Yeah, save this screen. Yeah. So AJAX 3. 3. Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. But we need to go to the university.js. All right. Yeah. JS. Yeah. There. Edit this row. Yeah. Because these 2 functions are very similar. Okay. Very similar. Yeah. So I just need to explain one function. The other one, similar. Yeah. So this function, because the main code we can put in one screen. Yeah, one screen we can hold the whole function, almost the whole function, just the close parenthesis outside the screen. Yeah. Let me cut off. Okay. Yeah. So all those, something. Yeah. But not that important. Out of screen, so not that important. So let me cut off this screen and explain this whole function, edit. Yeah, because the update is very similar to this one. Okay. All right. Yeah. So in this function, yeah, now it's pretty easy, yeah, with our background from the name suggestion example. Yeah. First, yeah, so 3 parameters, we already know about these 3 parameters. X, Y, U, yeah, all right, the meaning of the 3. Then, the first step, we create a, special AJAX object, communication object. Yeah. After that, we need to retrieve. Yeah, so here, this is the table number. Remember, this value contains the number of the current table. Current table. Yeah. But you may ask me, where do you retrieve the number of the current table? Here. I store this value in a special element in the page. This is the name ID of that element. So it's a hidden element. So here, we use a hidden element. Hidden input element. Yeah, let me show you that hidden input element. Yeah. That's the way people use to store some special data. Yeah. So let me find the location of that hidden element. Okay? Yeah. Hidden element. Yeah. Now look at this element here. Okay? Input ID MN type hidden. That means you cannot see it on the page because it's hidden. Okay? Yeah. With the ID. But you have a name. Name ID. You have ID and a name. Okay? Yeah. So here we have both. Yeah. When we need to use in JavaScript function, we use ID. When we need to use it in PHP, we use this name. Okay? All right. Value. Value, that's the PHP parameter $MN value. Okay? So we store in a hidden element. Okay? All right. And when we need it, now let's go back to the JavaScript function. First, we retrieve the value from that hidden element. Okay? So we have the current table number. Yeah. Then, my URL, in order to connect to the server-side program, we call it getDataByRow.php. Okay? Yeah. Field 1, FD1, refers to field 1. Field 1, its value is X. plus x. Ampersand, separate the second parameter. FD2, field 2, FD2 equals y value. Okay? Yeah. Second field. Field 1, field 2. Yeah. Then MN, the table name, yeah, we send MN. Okay? Yeah. All right. 3 parameters, we send it to the get data by row.php. Yeah. Yeah. We will go there soon. Yeah. Let me see the time. All right. Then, all right. Anonymous function definition. Yeah. Yeah. The bottom 2 lines just open and send. Okay. Yeah. That's easy to understand. But let's understand this anonymous function. Anonymous function, row array, constant row array. Yeah, so here. Yeah. Because for this constant row array, we need to response text, that's the return text. Yeah. That's the return text. Yeah. So actually I need to use this page. Yeah. So this is, return text. Return text. Return text, remember we need to return the whole row, right? Yeah. Whole row, it has multiple fields and its original data is an array. But when we return text, in order to return the array directly, yeah, so we need to use JSON to return array, okay? Yeah. Here, because in order to avoid that JSON technology, I use a temporary fix. I use this special, string as the delimiter to separate these fields. Yeah. I pack all the values of the same row and use the special notation to separate, delimiter to separate, put that special, substring in between. Yeah. Then I get one long string, right? Yeah, one long string. So I send it back. After we receive that one long string, here we use the JavaScript split function. And using this delimiter to split that long string into this array, row ARR. Okay? Yeah. All right. Then, when we display the content of that row, we need to know how many rows, how many fields in this row, right? Because when you run a for loop, how many fields in this row? So we need a column number of column. This one, yeah, because the array has a length. Yeah, so array has a length. From the array.length, we can get that number. Okay. Then we run a for loop. Yeah. For loop. Then we use the ID. Yeah. So in our HTML file, we make special ID. Yeah. R plus U, C plus I. Yeah. Special ID. Yeah. Inner HTML, we change to this input field, yeah, with appropriate ID and text value part. Okay? Yeah. Then you see the editable field. Yeah. All right. So then, last thing. Yeah, I talk about changing the display property value. Non-block switching, non-block, right? Then, so you get everything you need. Okay? All right, yeah, so we're run out of time. Yeah, let me stop right here. Hopefully, when you study the code, you can understand better. Okay? So with this explanation, you can understand better. Yeah. All right, yeah. So the remaining, if you have the knowledge for this part, the remaining should not be that hard. Okay? Yeah. All right, that's it.